Hey, everybody. I've been asked a million times, what gun do I get? What should I get? And this usually comes from a first-time gun buyer, or maybe you own some guns and you're trying to go to the next level to be a better shooter, and the gun that you're using is just not right. You're using somebody else's gun, you're using your dad's gun, you're using a borrowed gun. And so the question comes up, what gun is the best one for me? Well, here's the answer. I don't know. I do not know the answer to your question. Only you know the answer to your question. The thing is, I know what questions to ask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present 10 points to think about before purchasing a firearm. And then you're going to write it down. I've got cards. We're not going to use the cards, of course, but write down on a piece of paper, well, this is the answer to this one, and this is the answer to this one, and it narrows it down. So let's start off with this. This is the most important, believe it or not. Price. How much do you want to spend on the firearm? This one fires me up, and I'll tell you why. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, $1,000. No, I can't afford $1,000. Okay, $500. No, I can't do that. $300. Well, look, had I not asked that question of price and you didn't give me a dollar amount, you would have wasted my time. You'll waste your time, you'll waste my time. And here's why. In the scale or the parameters of how many different types of guns are out there, from $1 to $1,000, there's tons of them. So now I just chopped off that many types of guns that will fit in the dollar amount you're able to afford. There is nothing wrong if you can't afford a $1,000 gun. There are plenty of decent guns out there for the price that you're looking at, okay? I mean, below $300, we start pushing it. But there are some definitely decent guns out there for first-time buyers at the $300 mark. So if you want something more expensive, save your money if you can't afford it. But price is absolutely important. You must know how much you're willing to spend so you don't waste your time, you don't waste the person helping you's time, and the person at the counter, whatever. Figure out what you can afford before you go trying to buy it. All right, let's go to number 2. Caliber. Caliber, once again, it's up to you what you want to pick. Let's go through it real quick. The standard calibers in general for handguns, 22, 22 Magnum, 25 Auto, 32 ACP, 380, 40 Smith & Wesson, 9mm, 45. Okay, those are the basic ones. I'll make this comment though about 22s and 22 Magnums for cartridges for self-defense in a semi-automatic pistol. I've been teaching and practicing and training for decades, okay, at least 40 years. And I've come to learn that there are too many variables when firing a semi-automatic pistol in 22 or 22 Magnum because it's a rimmed cartridge. The primers are different, the shapes of the cartridges are different than basic standard center fire cartridges, and it just leads up to more potential for failure. I'm not saying the cartridges are bad for self-defense, I'm saying the platform that they're used on. So if you're going to use a 22 or a 22 Magnum, I would recommend them in a revolver platform. But let's move on from that and say, I think if you're the largest caliber you can handle and afford is probably the best thing to do, and figuring out once you find out what type of gun you want, if it will be adequate for the size firearm that you're using. 9mm standard NATO round, you can find it anywhere. It's probably the cheapest self-defense round out there. 380s get the job done. They've juiced up 380s to a point where if you get hit with a 380, you wish you wouldn't have gotten hit. 40 Smith & Wessons, I don't like them personally, but they're a great cartridge. And 45 have been around for a long time. And when you get hit with it, it hurts and it usually stops the threat, okay? So you'll need to figure out what's best for your pocketbook on how much you can afford for practice and deciding what kind of recoil you can handle. And that only comes from going on the range and practicing a few times. Go with some of your friends, try a few different guns with different calibers to figure out what feels good in your hand when it comes to recoil. Okay? What do we got next here? Pistol versus revolver. This is an interesting one. I call the revolver the dumb gun, the idiot gun. Because all you do is once it's loaded, you pick it up and you pull the trigger. There's no safeties. There's no rack in the slide. If you have a malfunction and the one cartridge doesn't fire, you pull the trigger again and it goes off. It's a dumb gun. And you can have a big revolver, you can have snub nose revolvers like so. Great gun, however, I consider it from here to the camera type of firearm. Although you can use these firearms in long distances, but it takes lots of training. If you're not willing to put in the training, but your mental mindset is this is just for the bedroom, it's for close personal contact. Okay, it's basically point and shoot, and it's a good gun. Revolvers are good. Larger ones, if you're in the house and you want a dumb gun in the house and it's bigger, you can move around the house a lot easier as compared to trying to carry one concealed. When it comes to pistols, there's a wide range of sizes, shapes, accessories to the pistols. You just need to figure out, how do I dress? Where am I going to go? Am I going to carry it on the outside? Am I going to carry it concealed under my clothes? Is it going to be for, just for get people off of me, or you're serious business with a larger caliber? So the pistol has a wide range of what you can pick from. It's just a matter, it depends on what you're going to do with the firearm. If you're a petite person, for example, and you want to wear it concealed, the odds say you're going to probably get a smaller sized semi-automatic pistol. If you're a larger framed individual, the gun gets a little bit bigger. If you're a large-breasted woman, here's a perfect example. Large-breasted woman and you're wearing a squared-off shirt and it drapes down, you got a lot of real estate down here that is being hidden by an over-draping shirt. So you could carry a small firearm all the way up to a larger firearm. It just depends on who you are, what your body style is, how you dress, and your attitude. Okay, let's move on from there. And we have home, personal, or both. I bring this up because there's a couple reasons. One, your budget might be tight and you can only afford for one gun. So you're probably going to want to get the one that's for both, not just for personal carry, not for just home, but something I can do for both. If you get a large firearm, the odds say you have less chance of carrying it on you concealed, but it's a great gun at the house. If you have a mid-sized gun, it's good for the house, it's good for your carry. And you just have to make the decision. And if you do the one for home, I want you to make sure it's got a Picatinny rail on it so you can put a light on it. Lights are absolutely mandatory in this day and age. They've gotten so good and so small that if you don't have a light on the firearm, you're wrong. You're just basically wrong. Even when you're carrying a concealed weapon, I highly recommend a firearm that has a light on it. And I could do a whole segment on that by itself. Lights are absolutely important. You could be in a movie theater, for example, if you're allowed to go into the movie theater with a firearm, and the lights go out. If you're in a building and the power goes down and something's going off, whatever the scenario is, you've got the ability to defend yourself and see, because you're not going to fire your firearm unless you know what you're shooting at. So you've got to be able to see. And then people will say, well, won't they know where I'm at? Well, we got tricks for that too. Okay, so is it for your home? Is it for your person? Or is it for both? If you're financially able to do so, I would get one for your person and I would get one for the home, two separate guns. Action type. This is a big one. Now, after these cards here, I'm going to go over action types. For action types, there's single action only, double action only. And people are going to say, what's a single action only? I never heard of it. Yeah, you probably haven't. I train with this because it's very important that you know specifics. You want to know exactly what you're dealing with. So what type of action type do you want? Do you want one where you just pull the trigger and it goes bang? Or do you want one where you have to set it up first before it goes bang? And so we'll hold off on this one until a bit later on in the video. Size of your palm. Look how big my palm is. My palm can grab a large firearm. It can grab a large firearm. It can grab a double stack firearm. If you're a petite person with a small palm and you go to try to wrap your hand around a large framed firearm, your hand is not going to be on the firearm properly. It's going to be kind of woppy-jawed. We don't want that. We want the firearm to become one with you. So if you have a large palm, that allows you to grab for a lot of guns. However, it can be detrimental to you when it comes to smaller size guns. So here we have a full size, not a problem for me. All these guns are empty and cleared, by the way. This one has a snub nose, very small grip. It's still okay because I know how to manipulate it. I've learned the little tricks of the trade, but you can see how much smaller it is. So a person with a large palm has to compensate for that. A person with a smaller palm will grab it like I just grabbed one of these big ones. So you have to figure out the size of your palm and the type of gun you're going to use for best benefit. Moving on to the next one, length of fingers. What does that matter? Well, it matters a lot. Let's look at this double action firearm, for example. You'll see right now it's set for single action mode. It's cocked back. But before it's cocked back, that trigger is all the way forward. which means my finger will have to extend longer than if it was like on a 1911, we'll say. See how short that trigger is? So there's my finger. I'll have to adapt to it. So if you have short fingers, this might be a good trigger system for you because your finger will be right there on the trigger as compared to having a long action trigger and you have to reach the trigger, okay? So pay attention to the size of your palms and the lengths of your fingers when it comes to grabbing a firearm. Sights. I train self-defense, defense of your home, people, property, third persons, and it's usually up close and personal. And when it's up close and personal, you do not have time to sight your weapon. If I'm going to be aiming at somebody in a crisis mode, by the time I get it up there to aim, the person's probably moved. It's got to be where I look at the individual, the firearm comes out, and I point shoot. So when you do that, the sights almost become useless. I don't need sights. It's point and shoot, and that's another class of teaching you how to hold the firearm and how to line it up with your line of sight, okay? So if you're not going to train like that and you want to just go to the range and shoot at a piece of paper to see if your gun shoots bullseyes, you're going to want your basic rear sight and your front sight. 3-dot system, 1, 2, 3, dot in the front, U-shape in the back, dot over dot. Whatever's clear and prominent. A lot of these firearms now have got the glow sticks in the front. I don't like those either. They have a tendency to break, but that's personal preference. But you want to make sure you have prominent sights if you're just doing that type of shooting. If you're going to be doing self-defense shooting, like I said, the sight sometimes doesn't even come into play. So pay attention to them. There's so many different types you can choose from. Now, safeties. Safeties are good. I think an overabundance of safeties are bad. It's just too many things to think about. But safeties come in handy. Now, on revolvers, there are no safeties. And the reason being is, this has an 8 to 12 pound trigger pull. It takes a lot to make that trigger go off. Now, it can go off. I'm not going to say that it won't. But it takes a lot of energy to do that as compared to this semi-auto goes real easy. That's a 3 to 5 pound trigger pull. So you'll want safeties on these types of guns. They've got grip safeties. They've got slide safeties. They've got trigger safeties. Whatever floats your boat and whatever it does to get rid of these flies, whatever floats your boat is the type of firearm and safety that you want on the gun, okay? So safeties are important to have, learn them, but they're not a guarantee that the gun won't fire. That's just an extra part, not a definite 100% guarantee. You could have a failure in the safety. So always point the gun in a safe direction. Don't pull the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and pay attention to your basic rules, okay? Now, lasers and lights. I'm going to pause on the lasers for a second. The lights are absolutely mandatory according to me. If you've got a firearm to protect your home, the firearm needs to have a light rail. Because if the lights go out, the power is out, and something's going on, you need a light source to see what you're going to shoot at. And there are different ways, different techniques to using a light in self-defense to distract the threat, to trying to get yourself out of harm's way. But it doesn't matter. You need a firearm with a light rail. If you've got a firearm for personal defense, concealed carry, unless it's just too small to do so, I highly recommend you have a light rail on that firearm as well and learn how to use it. I got tricks of the trade when we go to that too. There's all these different little things you learn in the course of time from experience. I've got buckets of holsters. I've got cabinets of lights. Just because sometimes something comes out new, bigger, better, smaller, better, sleeker, better. It just depends, and you got to apply it to your equipment to see what works best. Lasers. I do not recommend lasers at all for somebody who's not going to train with a laser. Lasers have great application. They really do. But if you're not ready to train with a laser on how to shoot it with a firearm or use it with a firearm, you are going to do very poorly when it comes to shoot the firearm. The problem is you're shooting a laser and you're looking for the perfect shot. And by the time you set up the laser on the threat, you're going to be seeing that thing shaking because you're nervous and you're going to try and get the perfect shot. So one, it's going to delay you. And two, when you finally think it's good, you're going to anticipate the shot and you're going to miss what you're aiming at. There is a set way to use a laser And unless you train with it, I wouldn't recommend using it unless you want to use it for psychological warfare. Somebody's in the house and you've got the laser on them and they see it, they're going to think twice, usually, hopefully, and it can help you that way. But shooting a firearm with a laser on it needs a little bit of practice, okay? Now, here's the last one. This is the bonus one, attitude. If you're not going to practice with the firearm, I'm going to highly recommend you don't buy one. You're going to be a hazard to yourself and those around you. Firearms are not toys. They are tools to be used properly. It's not a catchphrase. That's just the way it is, okay? If you're going to get a firearm, and definitely if you're going to decide to carry it, I would not get it. Now, if it's in the home, get a scatter gun. Get one of those tourist judge that somebody who doesn't practice at all puts in 410 buckshot or birdshot and just points and shoots. It's going to hit something, okay? But if you're going to try to defend yourself with a projectile that's got to hit the mark and you're nervous and your adrenaline's pumping and you haven't practiced, your success rate went down big time. All right, so there are your 10 points and the bonus for new-time buyers, even old-time buyers, really wanting to up their game there as to what type of firearm to get. Those are 10 points plus the bonus of how to narrow it down to which firearm you want to get. So we're going to break this down when it comes to actions in just a moment. All right, everybody, we're talking about action types of firearms. Action types, knowing action types is very important because I'm going to use an illustration here using screwdrivers. If I'm working on a project and I ask somebody, hey, I need a screwdriver, go get me a screwdriver. And they come and they grab a screwdriver and they bring it to me and they go, here you go. I say, no, that's a Phillips head. I need a flathead screwdriver. Flathead screwdriver. It's very important that I express exactly what I want so that I get exactly what I need, right? It's going to be the same way when it comes to firearms. You're going to be familiar with 3 different types of actions: single action, double action only. Single action, double action only. I train for single action only, and then single action only. Let me show you the differences in them. Let's go with single action first. The way a single action is, you have to cock the hammer to make this gun fire. First of all, the magazine's cleared, chamber's cleared, okay? You cock the hammer, pull the trigger, then the weapon cocks itself. This is a single action self-cocker. A single action self-cocker. Single action self-cocker. Put it in, cock it, it's ready to go, pull the trigger, and it keeps doing that until it runs out of ammunition. That is a single action self-cocker. Here is a single action. Your typical cowboy gun. I've got to cock it like I did the other one. I've got to cock the hammer the first time, and then I pull the trigger. But what happens? I have to do it every time to make it fire. Every time to make it fire. Every time to make it fire. Single action self-cocker, single action only. The only way I can fire this firearm is by cocking the hammer, pulling the trigger, cocking the hammer, pulling the trigger. This single action, once I loaded it, the hammer's cocked, I pull the trigger, it cycles on its own until it runs out of ammunition. Single action self-cocker, single action only. Let's go to double action. Double action, gun is empty, chamber's clear. Double action, I can do 2 things. I can either cock the hammer like I did on the single action and make it fire, or I can just make it fire by pulling the trigger. So I have 2 options. I can pull the trigger, or I can cock the hammer, pull the trigger. That's called a double action. On a revolver, it looks like this. I can either cock the hammer, pull the trigger, or pull the trigger. Double action. I got 2 ways to do it. Double action only. There is no hammer. I cannot pull the hammer. I can only pull the trigger to make it fire. And if you recall, the way this firearm went from a single action to a double action was the ability to do both, pull the trigger. It became a double action because my ability to pull the trigger. Double action by my ability to pull the trigger. Double action, but there is no hammer, So the only way I can make this firearm fire is by pulling the trigger, double action only. So we have single action only, which is the cowboy gun. I have to cock the hammer, pull the trigger, cock the hammer, pull the trigger. Single action self-cocker, once I load it, the hammer's cocked, I pull the trigger. It keeps cycling until it's out of ammo. Double action, I can either cock the hammer, pull the trigger, or pull the trigger. Same thing on this revolver, double action revolver. I can cock the hammer, pull the trigger, that's a double action. There is no hammer to pull, it's a double action only. So why is it important to know these? Because if I don't want any stress, if I want to be able to pick up a firearm and the only thing I have to do is point it and pull the trigger, I want a dumb gun. I want a stupid gun. I want one where I don't have to worry about cocking a hammer. I just pick it up, pull the trigger. If I want the option in a snub-nosed type of revolver and I want a double action, I can either cock the hammer and say, what do I want to do for a more precise shot? Or do I want a quick capability and just pull the trigger? I got that. Do I want high capacity? Do I want 15 rounds in this particular firearm? Do I want double action in the firearm? Well, this is a great combination. I've got high capacity, I've got double action or single action capability. If I just want romance, this is a great hunting gun too, but if I just want to have it Western style, you're gonna be stuck with, except for a couple of cases where they make them double action. Most cases, single action revolver. This is the only way you can fire it is by cocking the hammer, pulling the trigger. Not too many people carry a firearm like that anymore, but it's just nice to know. And the big one, the granddaddy of them all, 1911. That's a single action self-cocker. Your Glocks are single action self-cockers. Your Springfield XDs are single action self-cockers. It may be a striker fire. You can't cock the hammer, but once you rack the slide on a Glock or a Springfield, it's technically been cocked. All you got to do is pull the trigger. Once you pull the trigger, it just keeps firing until it's out of ammo and it locks to the rear. So when it comes to picking a firearm, decide the size you want, the caliber you want, the purpose it's for, how much you want to spend on it, what type of action type you want that best fits your mental thoughts or the situation that you're going to be in, because each gun has a purpose, and learn its purpose so you can use it to its best ability.